Yo, growing a business is kind of tricky right now. Supply chains are squeezed, tariffs and trade policies are dynamic, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. You need clarity to come out on top. Without it, you risk falling behind. If only you could hop in the DeLorean and see the future, right? Thankfully, there's NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite has real-time forecasting to help you move ahead with confidence. This is your AI-powered business management suite and the #1 cloud ERP. Trusted by over 42,000 businesses, NetSuite brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. And with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. The perfect product launch. It's the goal for every brand marketer. High heat, fast sellout, and fans posting recipes like trophies. What do Sydney Sweeney's soap drop, Taylor Swift's tickets, and your next launch have in common? Well, they're not bought, they're bragged about. Fanfare turns your drop into a moment. Fanfare cues real fans, blocks bots, and builds launch experiences worth screenshotting. Want hype without the heartbreak? Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook with our proven success formula and make your next launch unforgettable at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, fanfare.io/playbook.
When you're starting a mastermind, if you don't feel you can get anyone to join, just get one person to join. Getting back to a good party. What makes for a good party in college is that you bring in the right people at the start. What makes for a great conference? You've just got those keystone speakers or those keystone personalities that other people want to be in the same room and hang out with them. And then because you've got 5 to 7 really cool people, nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd.
So I'm currently 6 out of 8 weeks into a mastermind group. That's right, a mastermind group that is specifically with a time limit on it. And it's been one of the most valuable, interesting, and just eye-opening experiences for me. This mastermind is run by Antonio Centeno, who is here with us today. He's our special guest. He's a good friend of mine. We've been in the blog sphere for a very long time. He has a brand called Real Men, Real Style. He once helped me with what I should wear on stage. We'll tell that story a little bit because there's a fun little tidbit around how he found me first and some really good lessons around that, actually. But the meat and potatoes of this episode is about how you can bring together groups of people inside of your industry in a way that is just so innovative for the ability for you to learn, for you to connect other people together, for you to build relationships with them, and everybody wins. And I love things where everybody wins. And you're going to win today if you listen all the way through. This is session 669 with Antonio Centeno. And I just think this is genius. I think that you should consider doing something like this because the benefits of it, I mean, for me as a person in this recent one that he put together, and it's not a mastermind that you have to pay for or pay to get into. There is a little nuance there, but you'll hear Antonio talk about it. But just listen, because you'll hear exactly why I said yes when I immediately, when he pitched this to me, said no. So this is just really, really great. I'm thinking about ways I can do this as well. Anyway, here he is, Antonio Centeno from Real Men, Real Style.
You're listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network, a show that's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host, he gamifies almost everything he does in life, Pat Flynn.
With running your own business, legal questions always come with the territory. Like, can I use this contract or agreement? What do I do if a client doesn't pay? Am I even structured the right way for taxes? Instead of Googling your way through legal landmines, imagine having a law firm ready to address your business's legal needs without the sticker shock. That's what you get with Legal Shield's small business plans. Legal Shield helps entrepreneurs access real legal help on contract reviews, collection letters, business formation guidance, and even help navigating IRS audits. Members can schedule consultations, upload documents through the app, and get support from a provider law firm that knows small business laws in your state. Plus, consultations on taxes or trademarks help you stay ahead of potential problems. And if a client is late on a payment, Legal Shield steps in with professional collection letters so you can protect your hard-earned revenue, all for a fraction of the price of hiring a lawyer on your own. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. Hiring shouldn't be a hassle or a drain on your budget. Upwork is your one-stop shop to find, hire, and pay top freelance talent, saving you time and keeping costs in check all in one place. Companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in the way that they staff key projects and initiatives by assessing a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web development, AI, design, administration support, marketing, and more. And I've personally used them myself and can vouch for them. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a job post, or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them to take your business to the next level. Upwork makes the entire process easier, simpler, and more affordable with industry-low fees. Post a job today and hire tomorrow with Upwork. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com. Go there now. Antonio, welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, man. Thanks for being here.
Pat, it's a pleasure.
You and I have been in the same circle for a very long time, have been friends for a very long time. We've had lunch together. We are now in a mastermind group together, and I want to talk more about that because it's a very unique way that you've run this mastermind, and it's actually one of the most valuable things I've been a part of in a very long while. And I want you to be able to pass forward how that's created, where the idea came from, and such. But before that, I want to talk about you and how you got into what you do. You have a YouTube channel mainly and a number of different products and websites now, but many people know you from Real Men, Real Style. What is that, and how did it get started?
So that is just one of my projects. It is a YouTube channel and website that teaches men how to leverage the science of style to dress better. I see so many amazing men out there. Anyone listening, even if you're a woman, you've probably got a husband, a brother, a son that is an amazing guy, but he dresses, you just don't know what to do with him. He doesn't understand the importance of looking good. And I like to think that there are so many men out there, they're like rough diamonds that we walk over them, we miss them. But if you were to take that diamond and you were to cut it correctly, you were to shine it up, all of a sudden people are able to see it for the brilliant stone, the beautiful piece of work that it is. And I know so many men out there have so much to contribute. And so that is our focus. We focus on men. And because I just feel that in my background, I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was actually stationed out near you in Pendleton for a while. And I saw the power of a uniform. You could take, and I saw it many times, one of the ugliest guys, I'm not going to name his name, but I watched him go out and let's just say that the ladies were fawning over him. Men were giving him respect because he was wearing the appropriate clothing. He was wearing his Marine Corps dress blues. And I would see the power of dressing well. And you don't need to wear a uniform. When we see this out there, and I just love giving guys that little bit of an insight. But I think let's take a step back and let's talk about how we met. And I first found you years ago when you had just started, I think, Smart Passive Income, and you had written and put out a great ebook on how to make ebooks. And so I found this, downloaded it, and it blew my mind. I think I had been listening to Mixergy, and there was a guy, Gideon Shalwick. He had talked about just simply selling e-products and selling information. I was like, wow, so how do I do this? Found your ebook on how to make the ebooks, and I made an ebook, 7 Deadly Sins. It was like 17 pages. It was basically an article. I wrapped it into a PDF, and I offered it for free on my website. And people started, we were getting traffic to the website. They started grabbing that, for their email. I'd give them this ebook. Started off, 10 a day. Next thing I know, it's 50 a day, then 100 a day, then 300 a day. And I think when it started getting to like 400 or 500 people a day giving me their emails for this little ebook, I'm like, wow. And one funny thing about this is I started charging money for it. I made it a little bit stronger, beefier. Started charging $7, then 17, then 47. And at that point, I was like, well, maybe I should turn this into a course. And that's what I did. Took that ebook, turned it into a course that to this day, the basis of that sells, for almost $500. And, it's nice to see those sales still coming in. The information is timeless. But one thing I think I did that not many people were doing at the time, this had to be 2009, 2010 or something.
2010,
I sent you a video email, and it was just me recording, talking, and saying, hey, thanking you. But also, I noticed that you were about to give your first presentation. You were going to like a financial conference, and you put up there what you were going to wear and the backpack you were going to take. And I thought the backpack was great. Definitely you'd be able to be spotted. But I was kind of worried that you were going to a finance conference and you were going to be dressed too far down. And I'm thinking, does he really know his audience? And so if you remember in that video, I talked about how you had been in was it the Berkeley band?
Yeah, Cal band, Berkeley.
Cal band. And so you were there, and I talked about when you went on the football field, nobody questioned who you were because you were wearing a uniform and you looked the part. And I tried to use that because I always realized that if you can give people a great analogy, all of a sudden it's going to click in their heads why this is important. And I like to think that little video I put together, and I know we've talked multiple times about this, how all of a sudden you started seeing the importance of the way people treated you when you just dressed a little bit better. And you didn't have to put together a suit, although I think you did that first time. But eventually you found like a style that really worked for you. And I think you went on to win some even awards of like the best dressed guy at conferences,
I have,
which is pretty, doesn't really matter in the bigger scheme of things, but it's nice to get recognized. And I think you saw the power of just dressing well. How not only it makes other people perceive you, but how it makes you feel as a person.
100% to all that. And I remember receiving that email from you and getting, I think it was a link to an unlisted YouTube video or something. I don't even remember how you mechanically sent it over, but it was a 20-minute video that Antonio sent over, first saying thanks. And I was blown away. I always love hearing students and subscribers of mine, listeners, like taking something we offered and actually doing something with it. So that caught my interest, number one. But then there was this video and I clicked on it, and it was like an 18 to 20 minute video of Antonio literally talking to me, like a specific video that was just made for me. I remember the analogies very well, but I also remember you were showing literally like in a PowerPoint presentation, like, oh, these kinds of cuts on a jacket would look good on a person of your stature and a person of your skin color. These colors would make it pop and you would stand out. And again, even just the reasoning behind them. And in no way, shape, or form did I ever feel like, because I know this could potentially be a worry for people who try to help people in this way. It's like, no way did I ever feel like you thought I was, poorly dressing myself. But you said, like, you can make a much bigger impact if you were to do something like this. And you taught me where to start, how to get things at an economical price. There was no mention of any links to buy anything from you. It was one of the most helpful videos that I've ever received personally from somebody that I met online ever, even to this day.
Well, thank you. And I think that's the key. And what makes the law of reciprocity work, and we'll talk about this with the masterminds and stuff, is I genuinely try to approach things just wanting to give and to add value, because I honestly don't probably want to receive a 20-minute video from some random person. But if that 20-minute video goes into detail about where mistakes I'm making in my business, how I can improve it, and it really does add value, then of course I'll welcome that video. And I think that a lot of mistakes are made when people try to game this. They're trying to think, well, I want to ask something, and they've got an alter. And of course, we've all got a motive. We all I just simply wanted to help a friend, someone I had already gotten so much from. And to me, it genuinely was just giving, but I did think it would be cool to be able to get a response from you and all that stuff. And I think people can pick up on that when you're trying to get something versus actually giving and just trying to add value, because you're not trying to you're making the video as long as it needs to be, because maybe I could that is kind of a long video, but it genuinely came across as something I was just trying to help you. And I was leveraging my unique expertise to add value to somebody that had added value to me.
I remember a couple of years later, Derek Halpern did the exact same thing. In fact, I didn't even know who he was. And he sent me a shorter video than yours, but it was about how to get more emails on my webpage. And it was literally, he was
That was one of his great strategies. He did that with so many people. Yeah.
He did. Chris Brogan, he did it with a number of other people. He did it with me, and he showed a screen share of my page and said, in his very New York, just like no BS way, like, Pat, I love your stuff, but you suck at getting emails. Like, if I were you, this is what I would do. And I was just like, whoa, that actually makes sense. I tried it. I got results, and I like immediately invited him on the podcast to talk about it, all these kinds of things. And we've been friends since. But anyway, I love this lesson because it's really important. I think Jordan Harbinger once said, it's like you got to dig your well before you're thirsty, right? If you eventually know that you might want to build a relationship with somebody or have something mutually beneficial like that, help a person first. Dig your well before you're thirsty and then you need something. If you're digging your well and you're already thirsty, it's too late. You're not going to be able to do it, right? And I love that analogy of it as well. To finish this piece off with the video, I did take your advice. I put on a nice coat and I had some nice jeans to go along with it. It wasn't like a tuxedo situation, but I did feel different. And I remember even before I got to the event, Antonio, at the airport, I was running a little bit late. And never had I ever have anybody at the airport take care of me like they took care of me that day when I told the person at the counter that I was running a little bit late, that I was going to miss my first presentation, all this stuff. I don't know if it was the coat or not. I don't know if it was a placebo thing, or I don't know if it was because I wore the coat, I felt confident enough to have that ask to go to somebody. Whatever the case may be, I felt like I was getting treated differently and I was being seen differently. And that led into a little bit more that when I went to the event, I was able to kind of, even though it was my first time, have my chest out a little bit and feel just a little bit more like I was in the right place, thanks to you. And of course, that led to more events, that led to more people catching on to the style of presentations that I do. And then it led me onto bigger stages, eventually getting paid to get on stage. And then, yes, winning a couple of awards here and there for my sort of, I always wear I used to always wear like a vest with a tie. And it was very poppy in terms of color, like an orange or something. Yeah, it was really nice. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that you were able to leverage that. I kind of view it like compound interest, that it's that maybe it just gives you a 1% edge, but over time, that leads to huge returns.
For sure. And not only that, you unlocked a new language that I learned about just the world of how people see others, and the other thing about this was I didn't want to believe that this stuff worked. Like, I wanted to be the person who was like, oh, people aren't superficial. People like want to get to know people first before they judge them. I think we all know that that's not true. And you can say a lot about who you are and what you represent and what you stand for and how confident you are without saying a single word based on what people see first, which is what you wear. So, I love that you've helped me out. And I refer people to your website all the time, and I'm just very grateful. And we've stayed connected over the years. We've crossed paths at different events and such. And for a while, there was a time where it's been a while since we've chatted, like several years, in fact, but I always sort of kept up with what you're doing. But recently you reached out to me and you said, hey, Pat, like, I know you're doing a lot of YouTube stuff now with Deep Pocket Monster, really cool stuff. I'm actually starting a mastermind group with other YouTubers. And my initial reaction was, I'm in like 2 masterminds already, Antonio, and I do talk about YouTube with some friends already. Like, I don't need another mastermind group for this right now, although I think it would be cool. I'm very protective of my time. But then the way you pitched it and the way it was structured, after you told me that, it was an immediate yes. And I want you to talk about what it is that you do here, how is this structured, and how a person listening to the show could potentially be you in this situation to bring people together, because it's been massively valuable. And like I said in the beginning, one of the most valuable things that I've done in a very long time that somebody else has organized. So I'd love for you to share that. And what's the origin of this and how is it run?
Sure. So I will say that, I've gone through Strategic Coach. I'm not familiar with Dan Sullivan and his program. And one of the things that they talk about there is, what is your unique superpower? What's something that you actually get energy from doing? And one thing I love to do is actually bring people together. I learned this simply in college. I like to host good parties. And it was so fun just to have so many people in a small college dorm room and getting kicked out of school. That's a whole other story. I did manage to get back in. But yeah, we had 2 kegs over. It was crazy parties. The police showed up twice. But the thing is people want to be at a fun party. And a fun party is fun because there's a variety of people, good conversation, but it's curated a bit. And so about 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, a little bit longer than that, because we actually launched our first conference, Menfluential. I did this with a business partner of mine, Aaron Marino. And we noticed, it just randomly, we're at VidCon and we got there early and we're like, hey, well, let's just email our list and just say, we're going to be at this bar near VidCon because, VidCon was just too big and crazy and we wanted to get something smaller. We had 100 people show up. And like, this was only with a few days notice. We had a guy fly in from Canada and we're like, people just flew in from Canada to hang out with us at a bar. So we knew we had an audience. We knew we could leverage it. It was just about throwing a cool, fun party. There was no pressure. It was laid back. We ended up running a conference for 6 years after that started off as StyleCon. We turned it to Menfluential, men focused. That's my market. And it was a great time. And the thing that made this conference so great is it wasn't a conference. It was a party, except, I kept it pretty PG. I don't drink anymore. I've got 5 kids. I wanted to keep it toned down, but at the same time, I wanted it to be something that if a guy showed up, he would really feel that he was at home. So I think, what do I want from a conference? One, I want unlimited food. I want good coffee. I don't want to be sold to on the stage. I really like a linear track with great speakers, but the speakers are short, like 20 minutes at most, because if I really do like what you're saying, I'll find you. Oh, and it would be great if the speakers were like in the audience hanging out with us so that I could talk to this person and even make a room so that people go off and actually hang out and talk and have their private discussions. We'll even bring in a photographer to take your picture for free so that you could update your LinkedIn profile. And that's everything I just said there, we did at the conference. Me and Aaron were there at the very beginning, shaking hands, hugging guys. And we brought in 30 or 40 other great YouTubers and content creators that I figured, I'm not going to pay them to speak, but you know what? I will put them up in hotels. And so we didn't make any money with this thing. It was kind of nonprofit. All the money we would charge guys, because we really undercharged for the tickets. It was just a few $100. Again, it was unlimited food. We brought in food trucks. We had it at the last night, it was open bar, literally and I don't drink, but I was like, if I did, I would want an open bar. And so for a few $100, these guys had it was initially 3 days. We cut it down to 2 days because it was just too much of a party. And that taught me a lot of valuable lessons. One, it's hard to make money with conferences. I think anyone that runs events knows this unless you're selling from the stage. But I felt just so great about what we were doing that there were other values that came out of that. 3 businesses that I became a part of came out of that conference because I met people, I interacted, and I realized that there's a lot of value that can be had not by the event itself, but everything that comes out of the event. I also appreciated being able to curate who was up on stage, who wasn't going to be up on stage, and the way that the event ran and being able to adjust things. And I always felt that my job as the curator, as the host, was to make everybody feel welcome. So if you were that guy, and I remember there was one gentleman standing in the back and he had a little bit of BO, he had some communication issues, but I went over and we purposely made him feel like a part. We introduced him to people. We got him in the open area. So, air's flowing, it wasn't, but I think no one wants to show up to an event and feel like they're an outsider. We want to show up and, kind of like, I grew up in the 80s. And so you remember the theme song for Cheers, everybody knows your name. It's like you go in and you want people to welcome you. And that's what we did for 6 years with that event. We ended up shutting it down, dodged a bullet because COVID happened literally a month after we shut down that conference. But I realized, going for the next year and a half, I missed hanging out with people. So I started bringing together little masterminds. And this would be alumni from the Menfluential event. Usually the speakers, we'd get together, 10 of us, 15 together on Zoom, just hanging out, drinking a coffee, drinking a beer, just catching up with each other. And I realized, well, let's get back to masterminds. Now, I'd been a part of a few masterminds over the years. They're not anything new. Anyone that knows the word, Napoleon Hill, I believe, is the one that came out or popularized it. But the idea is you've got a group of people that you can reach out to and bring either, you can set up in a variety of ways. But selfishly, I said, what if I were to identify what are my main problems? And then I bring people together, kind of focused in and centered around my own problems. So that's going to be my benefit, if nothing else. I'm going to satisfy my own curiosity and probably be able to go deeper in on that problem. So I started running 3 masterminds every quarter. And sometimes like I experimented. One quarter it was like the same 3 masterminds I ran. And this one was for more of just anyone that was a blogger. So it was all bloggers. And I met a lot of people because I'm in the Ad Thrive network. So I met a lot of people in the food space. And that was cool. Met a lot of people I had no idea. And I learned a lot about content creation. Then I started changing it up, started putting more towards masterminds that are more business focused. I took the lessons that I had learned from other masterminds. And one is, I don't want a mastermind that goes on forever. That's intimidating, first up. And the other one is like, what if you end up, like, it's hard for people to commit to something that goes on for a long time, unless it's really, really good. But even that, you eventually get stale and you get tired of it, perhaps. So I was like, okay, let's keep it to, we experimented with like 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 8 weeks, ended up settling on about 10 weeks. It made sense. Also, I wanted it to be weekly versus monthly. I've been a part of great monthly masterminds, but that's usually with people that I already know. And what I discovered is that if people don't know each other, which is great because you can bring in a wider, diverse group of people, but they need to build up trust. And that was, I figure the first 5 weeks are just people getting to know each other, just people getting a feel of who they are and what this person does, getting their name down. So that was key, is making sure that everyone could commit to that week. And then it was, getting people to have a little bit of skin in the game. I didn't want to charge money. I felt that, and I didn't for the first couple of years. But what I did find is that it seemed like every class, there would be 30%, 20% of the people that had given me a verbal commit, but they just didn't show up, or they were inconsistent in being able to make it. They didn't make it a priority. So one way around, because I didn't want to charge people money, I just simply said, well, here's the deal is you need to donate $500. I've got a nonprofit that I started up over in Ukraine, feeding about 200 families. You can contribute there, or just simply contribute to your own charity. Like, I don't care, but I want you to actually spend a little bit of money. That way you have to make the choice. Do I want to be there, or do I want, and I do set it up so it's like if someone can't afford the amount I suggest, I'm like, well, donate $100. I don't care. But, it needs to be a little bit of pain that you actually want to be a part of this. So running numerous masterminds, I started noticing that there were problems. One of them I had to disband early, because that one, unfortunately, I had people in at 2 different levels. I had advanced entrepreneurs in with lower level entrepreneurs. And nothing wrong if you're an entry level just beginning. But the problem for an advanced entrepreneur is that oftentimes the people that aren't as far along, they're taking a lot more than what they're giving back. And it makes the person at the higher level feel like they're just not getting anything from it. They didn't sign up to necessarily be a teacher. They can work, but the other people really need to bring something unique. So I did find a note. You can make that work when the dynamic is very different, if people are bringing a unique angle. I think in our YouTube mastermind, there were some really small channels in there, but they understand maybe Instagram marketing, or that they can sell high ticket. So they are bringing something that's unique, and they can contribute in other ways. So I know I've talked for a while, so let me open it up to...
No, it's okay. You were going through the process. I love the origin of this. It's similar to why we created online communities, because we felt that it was the hallway talk at FlynnCon that was the most valuable stuff, and we've now brought that online. And you've done it in this really genius way where, so I want you to imagine, if you're listening, you bring together a group of 5, 10, maybe 15 people. I mean, is there a number that makes sense for these masterminds, Antonio?
I like 10 to 12. I find that that's a great number you can do. I think if people really know each other, 5 is awesome. But for the first sets, when people are just getting to introduce, I like that number 10 to 12. That's about perfect.
And that's how many YouTubers you said that would be in this group? You gave me some names, a couple I recognize, Steve Chu and also Charles Cornell.
And that's important. When you're starting a mastermind, if you don't feel you can get anyone to join, just get one person to join. And if you can get one person that has a little bit of name recognition, because I think there was one person in our mastermind that you were a little bit starstruck.
A little bit.
You're a fan of his channel.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, if you know, and getting back to a good party, what makes for a good party in college is that you bring in the right people at the start. What makes for a great party, or a great conference? You've just got those keystone speakers or those keystone personalities that other people want to be in the same room and hang out with them. And then because you've got 5 to 7 really cool people, nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. And so all of a sudden it becomes much easier. I think you caught us at the tail end as I was about to launch, I think in a week. And yeah, I just named off a few names and all of a sudden you're like, wow, like these are all great people I want to be a part of or be around.
Right. So we've been doing it for, I think, 6 weeks or so. And again, another thing that helped me say yes was the fact that it was for a limited time. Like, no, I can't add another one that I could do forever. But I think for the next 8 weeks, I could definitely talk some YouTube once a week for an hour and hang out with some cool people, like you said. And I've been showing up every time. Everybody is almost showing up every time. And it's been really amazing. We've had some really good conversations, some planned hot seats. Other people come and just provide so much value. And it's just, more than that, I'm already building relationships with a lot of the people in there, right? And that's really why I wanted to do this. Just who else is here and how can I help them in some way, shape, or form down the road? I'm sure if I need something and they have an expertise in that, I can ask for help too. And that's the cool thing about this. And that's the real benefit of this, right? I mean, like you said, you're not doing this to generate an income. You're even having people donate, which I love that workaround as far as let's get people to commit to this, but let's not make it about you making a bunch of money, because ultimately what happens is when you are a connector in this way, you're a curator, you're bringing people together. It just, number one, it heightens your brand. I talk about that in my book, Superfans. Now, all of us are tied to Real Men, Real Style in some way, shape, or form. But number two, now we are also getting value from the relationships we're building there. And honestly, I mean, I was already going to do this, but I'm even more so now. If you need anything from me ever, how could I not help you? Because you've put this thing together for us. And, it does require a little bit of work to manage it. Can you speak to that and maybe comment on what I just said, if you have anything to say about that?
I didn't expect that to be so much work, and I'm happy that I did take it on, because most of the masterminds I've been a part of that have failed miserably have not been curated well. They don't have anyone that's keeping the trains running on time. One thing with our masterminds, they start on time, they end on time. People's time is incredibly valuable, and that 1 hour, and it may not be the same, but I set that expectation. I try to keep things moving along. You've probably noticed if someone starts talking a bit long, we all love Danny, but man, Danny can talk. Like, Dan, let's keep it going. Boom. He's a great friend, but you just want to keep things moving. And I find that is work. You've got to be able to carefully step on it. And that's another great thing about, not taking money is the expectation is, hey, like I'm doing this because I really enjoy it and it's fun. And it is my party. And because it's a party, like you have a little bit of control on, are people going to wear shoes in the house? Well, no, leave the shoes there. It's like you were invited here. You didn't pay. If people pay, there's also this expectation that, and people do this in food all the time, that, oh yeah, because you're at a restaurant, you can treat the server like a jerk. No, you can't. Like, I love it. I was watching some chef. He's like, he kicks out just kicks people out. Like if he thinks they're a jerk, he's like, I don't need your money. Like, this is my home. Like, welcome. And that's the way I try to treat it with the mastermind, because it's also, I vet everybody. You can't just join the mastermind. Everyone is personally vetted. I think it was Charlie Wilson's War where I first learned about how there was a hostess in there, a woman from Houston, and she talked about how she would have these parties at her house, and they were these very extravagant dinner parties, but every guest was hand chosen, and where they sat at the table was her goal was to sit like a Saudi Arabian sheik next to this Texas congressman, next to this, in this case, this arms dealer. It's like, so she's setting things up because she knows naturally these conversations are going to happen. And I think that's one of the harder things about a mastermind is sometimes you almost have to say no, or and I would do this by trying to direct people into different masterminds. Because I was running 3 at the same time, I could direct who kind of goes into what. If they would ask me which one's best for you, I'd kind of look at where they're at. And I would also, in the invite, be very clear that you had to have, 100,000 subs, or be getting 1 million views, or, setting that bar, which again, I learned from Strategic Coach, because to even work with Strategic Coach, he's really clear. You got to be paying yourself $100,000 or be doing $1 million in sales. Now, of course, they make exceptions and I make exceptions, but just setting that bar right there, for many people, they self-qualify, or that they either say, and I think it makes it a lot more attractive. Maybe that was one of the things that made it attractive to you, is that you knew there would be larger YouTubers in there, not YouTubers just getting started. These are people that have been running into many of the same problems you have over the last few years.
Exactly. I'm curious because you do masterminds like this in this fashion, pun intended. across different kinds of sectors, right? They're not just like entrepreneurs, for example. This one specifically is about YouTube. I know you have a couple others. I think my friend Rick Mulready talked about one related to AI.
AI in business. Yeah, that one is really
AI in business. Yeah. I'm like, why wasn't I invited to that one too? Because that one sounds awesome. But no, I'm just kidding.
We'll do that one again because that one is just blowing everybody's mind. That one is really, really fun.
I mean, the AI stuff's getting wild right now. Rick introduced me to some stuff, and then I fell into a rabbit hole, and I'm just
and that's exactly so the purpose of that one was, again, it's solving my own problem because I see all this and I'm overwhelmed. I'm 46. I've got 5 kids, 4 businesses, 3. I got a wife. Actually, I got my wife's sister from Ukraine. They're now living with us. My 2 nephews. So I got 7 kids and my mother. So it's like, I can't make time for all this AI stuff, but what I can make time for is 1 hour a week for other people to show me specifically how they're using AI in their business. And this is really useful because it's practical application of AI. And because it's recorded as well, here's another secret. Because I own a company and I've got people that work for me, I actually give them the recording. And so you notice that you get transcribed notes, you get broken out notes, you get recordings. That's actually continued education for the people on my team who are actually looking through this stuff saying, wow, that's a great idea. Like, we need to be implementing this.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's kind of one thing with my team I always emphasize, and I learned this, I think, from Google when they talked about 10% of your time should be spent on like crazy things. I don't necessarily give 10% for crazy things, but I do pay for 10% to be towards making yourself sharper and better at what you do. So that includes reading, that includes whatever you want to do to become better.
What an amazing way to learn new things instead of like just reading about it or even watching videos about it. You are curating people who are as interested in this and probably a little bit more attuned to what's going on than you are. And you're getting the education in real time, and you're getting group feedback, constructive feedback. You're getting ideas coming in, all in return for something massively valuable, which is the relationships that are being built in there, more focus. And it's not just you receiving all these things, it's everybody else receiving all these things. I think it's a genius format for learning, and to be able to step up and say, hey, everybody who's also interested in this thing, like, and you're not, I never considered you pitching it that way. Like, hey guys, I don't know anything about this, and selfishly I'm putting this together for me. It's almost like everybody wins in this situation.
Well, I think that's a common win for a lot of people that run podcasts, that run interview shows, that have channels that bring guests on, is that they are, Joe Rogan talks about this. Like, he is just curious and learning and constantly getting better himself because of the type of guests that he brings on that force him to sharpen his own sword.
Yeah, this is a really great way to fast forward a lot of that. And then you can take what you need, your team takes what you need from it and can implement it and all those kinds of things. I know last week we spoke about an unfortunate thing that happened on your YouTube channel, which had just happened to mine. Yeah. Right? So you were asking me a lot of stuff because I had just gone through that too. And I'm glad to say.
And I didn't even know your channel was hacked, but it was so useful. Like, one thing you said, and I immediately implied, was make the videos live again. For some reason, I thought that YouTube had made them all, and I think YouTube did make them all unlisted, but I didn't think I guess we could manually. And it was a lot of work because I had a lot of videos. You were very clear. Oh, I only had like 20 or 30 videos when you got hacked versus I had 2,000. So, but it did give, I have my team and we watched that and they're like, okay, like, we can do this. It's not an infinite number. It's 2,000. And we went through each video and they made sure, it took a while. It took us 3 days, but we had it all back. And by Saturday morning, the channel pretty much looked like it used to.
Yeah. I noticed that it was back to normal, and I know that's stressful. And I think a part of also what helped, it's not just the technicalities of how all that happened. It was a lot of just like helping you feel better in that situation. Like, okay, you'll get it back. No worries. Like, this sucks. We empathize with you. Like, I was just going through it too. And that's the power of Mastermind. People have just gone through the things that you are probably going through right now. And you can, cry on their shoulder as well as get some help and all those kinds of things too. So anyway, I love this so much. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and the interesting thing is that hack happened just a few hours before our mastermind. And I had 3 calls that day. And my assistant, she asked me, she's like, should we cancel? all the masterminds. And I thought about it for a second. I'm like, no, like I really enjoy doing these masterminds. Why would I cut out of my day one of the most enjoyable things that I love to do and instead be all stressed out and worried about a hack that honestly, there's not much I can do after that first hour of just getting the ball rolling with YouTube. But and the guy that initially helped me get the ball rolling, I had met at my conference. He was a fellow YouTuber, Alex Costa. He's an amazing guy, and he used to work for YouTube. And within seconds, like of me texting him, he had gotten back to me, gave me an email, gave me the form I needed to fill, and helped me start that process a lot sooner than later. So that's why but again, relationships, I would say, give me energy. If this doesn't build, because someone's probably listening thinking, well, I got to do this one. Not necessarily. There are other ways, as we talked about, like you have a podcast, putting out videos, or there are other ways, I think, to be able to meet and engage with people. This is just something that for me is very easy to do because I naturally gravitate towards talking and hanging out with cool people.
It's really great. I want to know, before we finish up here, Antonio, what are the administrative things that are required to run a 8-week mastermind with 10 people in it?
I mean, Zoom or Google Meetups, you can do it anywhere. I mean, there's free tools.
Yeah.
I think a mistake a lot of people make is that they try to recruit everybody at the same time versus slowly building up the right people and targeting them individually and treating people like individuals. You may have, 1,000 people you think you want to do a mastermind with on this email list you've built up, or you think throwing it out on a forum you're going to attract, or a Facebook group you're going to attract the right people. I'd say really it's better to have a small mastermind with 4 people that are freaking awesome that you've vetted and will work well together than to try to get 8 random cats in a meeting that all of a sudden they're just not showing up. They're not taking it seriously because to start with, maybe you don't want to take money. We'll just talk to people straight up. Hey, this is really important to me. Can you commit to doing this? And it's better to, because one of the things that takes, I think, the wind out of you is when you arrange, you do all this work and you show up and people don't show up. So one thing that I have is I have people's email address. We send them reminders, multiple reminders. I've got everyone's phone number, which I can send them a text reminder if I notice they're not there in the first few minutes. And some people are great. They're there every single time. Other people do need those little bit reminders, but they appreciate it. And it just makes that meeting so great when you get 100% turnout, the first meeting, the second meeting, and all of a sudden people are looking forward to that being the bright spot in their day.
Yeah, it's been a really good experience. And I hope people take away a format that you might be able to implement into your brand and business and your industry. You can become known as the connector, and that can develop relationships, and you can learn at the same time too. It's actually really genius.
And you don't need to be, as Pat, you don't need to be the top dog in your space to do this. In fact, that's a huge advantage if you're actually at a low level, because so many but listen and look what the top dogs need help with. So many of them want to connect. They want a community. They want a curated place for them. And so if you provide that atmosphere, they're going to want to show up. They're going to want to be there. And all you have to do is convince one, and then another one's going to want to be with that other one. And then you got 2, and then another one wants to be in there, another one. And next thing you know, you're having to put barriers on how many people you're going to allow into that mastermind.
You are not wrong. In the Pokemon space, I am a lower level person coming in kind of quite new to this space, but I wanted to show up and help the other creators who are there. And this June, I'm putting on an event in Anaheim, California, which is not for me. I got a couple of the bigger creators in the space to agree to come. I befriended them. I was a moderator in their channels. I was over delivering for them. And when one said yes, the next one said yes. And now currently we have 40 creators who are Pokemon YouTubers, many who have been doing this for much longer than me, coming to the event and talking about it. And I've had not $1 spent on marketing. And many of them are coming. I don't even have to pay them to come. They want to come, like you said.
Yeah.
Because somebody finally stepped up and said, hey, we're going to all hang out together. And guess what the event's called? Card Party. We talked about parties a lot today. So, I mean, to wrap that up, it works. It's the relationships are great. And again, hopefully we can provide a great experience so that people want to continue to come back. But I know that in between events, I can reach out to any of these people that we've created the space for and say, hey, like I need some help with this if I might need that help. And they're going to be more likely to say yes because we're digging that well, even though we don't need to. So, and it's a community well, if you will, not just for me, but for everybody too. So, Antonio, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing exactly how you put this together and your story. And again, it just brings me back when I think about eBooks the Smart Way, which was what that book was called. It was like a 40-page PDF. Like, don't make lead magnets that are 40 pages anymore. That just doesn't work. But back then, there wasn't a lot of information, and you grabbed it, you took action, and here we are now, 15 or so years later, almost. Still friends and still talking and still rocking. And congrats on the success on the YouTube channel. I think you're over 3 million subs now. Amazing. Well done. Where can people go to watch, listen, absorb all your stuff?
Just type me in, Antonio Centeno or Real Men Real Style. You'll find our contact form on our website, which I love people going through. It's the easiest, most efficient way to reach me. And if anyone has any questions, they can just follow up. Pat, thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you. All right. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Antonio, longtime friend. We started out together in the blogosphere. That initial video just blew me away. And I'm glad he brought up that story. But really, just this mastermind, like, I don't even know if there's a name for this, a limited time only mastermind, or a mastermind with a finite amount of time to be in it. I don't know. What would you name this thing? Anyway, let me know if you heard this, and tag me on Instagram and or Twitter at Pat Flynn and at, I don't know if it's Antonio Centeno or Real Men Real Style, but you can find him and let us know what you think and what the name for this kind of mastermind programming should be, because it's, I think, really, really smart. And for Antonio to go in and admit that he's not the big dog in the room, he's there to learn, but also it's of benefit to people like me who are in there. It's just, again, like I said in the beginning, I just love when everybody wins in a situation like this. I think it's really great. I think you should do it too. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want all the links and the resources mentioned in this episode over on the website, head on over to smartpassiveincome.com/session669. Check out Antonio, realmenrealstyle.com. Peace. Thanks so much. And I look forward to serving you in the next episode. Have a good one. Thank you so much for listening to the Smart Passive Income podcast at smartpassiveincome.com. I'm your host, Pat Flynn. Sound editing by Duncan Brown. Our senior producer is David Grabowski, and our executive producer is Matt Gartland. The Smart Passive Income podcast is a production of SPI Media and a proud member of the Entrepreneur Podcast Network. Catch you next week. Hey there, quick pause here because I have to tell you about a tool that completely transforms the podcasting workflow. Riverside. I get it. I used to juggle multiple platforms just to record one podcast episode. It was exhausting. Zoom for recording, Audacity for editing, and then a bunch of different apps just to create clips and social posts. I've tried other ones as well. They were okay, but they were clunky and super time consuming. That's where Riverside has massively helped. I can do it all in one place: recording, editing, repurposing, one platform, one streamlined flow. I just log in, record with my guests no matter where they are in the world, and just like that, studio quality audio and high resolution video all in one. And get this, even if your Wi-Fi glitches, Riverside records locally on your device so everything sounds and looks crystal clear. But here's my favorite feature: Riverside's AI editing tool. You can remove silences and filler words with just one click. Hours saved. With Magic Clips, Riverside also automatically finds the best moments and turns them into ready-to-post videos for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, all without the extra editing. So if you're looking to level up your production quality and simplify your workflow, go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. It's built by creators for creators, and I think you're going to love it. More people dream about building their own business and being their own boss rather than retiring early. But a majority of them never even take the first steps to register the business. Why? Because starting a business can feel overwhelming. With legal forms, paperwork, finances, it's a lot. And that's where Taylor Brands comes in. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal and business assets separate from day one. And from there, you can get access to everything you need to get off the ground, from legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, our listeners get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. Just head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI.
Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands.